He's angry. He's not motivated by love. He's not motivated by the glory of God. He wants vengeance. He's angry they lost. And he's basically saying, unless if this happens, no one is to eat or drink or be married or nothing until I have my vengeance. It was all about him, right? Why do we usually get angry? What is it that usually, like, think about what angers you. I tell this to my kids all the time. They hate me for it, but they know it's true. They laugh, and Joseph knows, like he knows it's coming. I'm like, why are you angry right now with your sister? And he's like, I'm like, because you didn't get your way. You didn't get your way. What? We usually get angry because we want something. And this is actually what James says in James chapter 4. He says, where do wars come from amongst you? They come because you warn your members, and you seek after that. You seek after and you don't receive because you seek amiss. Right? We want something, we don't get our way. We want what our flesh wants, we don't get our way. So what happens? We get angry. Think about the last time you had a fight with someone in church. Or think about those of you who are in a relationship or married. Reason you got in a fight is because you wanted something, you expected something, you didn't get your way. Right? I mean, usually that's where fights come from. That's where anger comes from. I thought I deserved respect. I didn't get respect, and I become angry. Right? I thought I was going to get a gift. I didn't get it. I become angry. Think about how often services and servants have become divided amongst themselves. Why? People get angry with each other. Why? Because they wanted their way. They didn't get their way. This is what happens with Saul. This is the second big mistake, by the way. He's angry. And as a result of his anger, he turns the countenance of all the people, they're miserable. Jonathan comes in, he doesn't know. And he dips and he eats. And he actually said, if whoever dips and eats, they're going to die. Okay? It's amazing how sometimes people, they're so driven to walk with God, but their anger will get the most of them. Saul should have been one of the great kings of Israel, but his anger got the best of him because he became the center of his own world. This is the issue. This is the second big issue. Okay? Come with me now to later in the chapter, verse 41 to 44. Someone read for us.
Therefore Saul said to the Lord God of Israel, Give a perfect law. So Saul and Jonathan were taken, but the people escaped. And Paul said, Cast lots between my son Jonathan and me. So Jonathan was taken. And Saul said to Jonathan, Tell me what you have done. And Jonathan told him and said, I only tasted a little honey with the end of the rod that was in my hand. So now I must die.
Okay, pause right there. Your son just tells you, I dipped the honey and I ate, and I must die. What's your response to him? You're like, no, that's crazy. What do you mean? Listen to the impulsivity in this man's voice. Continue.
Saul answered, God, do so and more also, for you shall surely die, Jonathan. But the people
That's it. My son just told me that he's about to, like, he dipped and he ate, and he says, now I have to die. And my response to him is, yeah, that sounds about right. And more so than that too. May you burn in hell. Like, imagine your father or your mother say that. That's their first response to you. If that is something your parents have said, please don't raise your hand right now. Okay? I know some of you have this very uncomfortable snicker right now. Okay? God forbid. So, Saul is impatient. He's an angry person. He's impulsive. He's like, yeah, that sounds about right. He doesn't think. He's just like, okay, yeah, you know what? And we're so. May it be done to you. All right. We're almost done with Saul. Go to the next chapter. I can't stand this guy. I mean, I love him at the very beginning. I'm like, what a beautiful man. What a great man. And you know what? We know a lot of Sauls, right? Start off beautifully one step forward and then 2 steps back. We're like, ugh. Okay. I know, some of us are Saul. It's okay. It's okay. Alright, 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 9 and 10. But Saul and the people. So just real quick here. He is told, by the way, by Samuel, you got to kill everything. You have this victory, you got to kill everything, destroy everything. God has instructed you, get rid of everything. And by the way, just because sometimes people are confused by this, they're like, how come? And is God really, what God is telling us, the way we read this Christocentrically, as Christians today, how do we read this passage, like allegorically speaking? We read it that God is telling us that you, like, if there is something in your life that is sin, wipe it out. Get rid of it, okay? 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 9 and 10. Someone read first.
But Saul and the people spared Agag and the best of the sheep, the oxen, the fatlings, the lambs, and all that was good, and were unwilling to utterly destroy them. But everything despised and worthless that they utterly destroyed. Now the word of the Lord came to Samuel, saying, I greatly regret that I have set up Saul as king, for he has turned back from following me and has not performed my commandments.
Excellent. Yep, now skip down to verse 17 and then verse 30. Jump down, verse 17 and then verse 30. Keep going.
Samuel said, when you were little in your own eyes, were you not head of the tribes of Israel? Did not the Lord anoint your king over Israel? Now the Lord sent you on a mission and said, go and utterly destroy the sinners, the Amalekites, and fight against them until they are consumed. Pause there for a second. God has just rebuked you. You've done something wrong. He said, I want you to get rid of all of this sin in your life, and you say, no, I don't think so. What's your response to God? You throw yourself at his feet and you say, God, have mercy on me. Right? Jump down to verse 30. Like the arrogance of this man. Verse 30. Then he said, I have sinned, yet honor me now before the elders of my people and before Israel, and return with me that I may worship the Lord your God.
He said what? Did you hear what he said? Read it one more time. Just that first part.
Then he said, I have sinned, yet honor me now, please, before the elders of my people and before Israel, and return with me that I may worship the Lord your God.
Really? Honor me in front of the people. I don't want people to have a bad idea of me. I don't want them to have a bad impression of me. He's more concerned with his own pride, his own ego, his own image. I've sinned, but you know what? Just honor me in front of the people so that they'll respect me. I mean, he's so concerned. Do you remember David when the Ark of the Covenant comes in? And what does he do? He dances like a little schoolgirl. He takes off his robe, throws it, and he's like dancing like a little girl. And his wife looks at him and goes, she like despises him. And he goes, and I would do even more than that. Saul's concern, his pride, he's like, what are people going to say about me? What will the people think? Right? One step forward, two step back. Let's go to the last thing. Verse 33 to 35. I know, you guys are sick and tired of Saul. So let's go to the last part of Saul. Verse 33 to 35. Now this is after he's been rebuked. And we already kind of got a hint of how Saul responds to the sin. See how Samuel, this guy is a G, by the way. Right? Look at what Samuel, you think I'm joking. Look at what he does, alright? Start from verse 32. Mina, this is fitting for you. Read verse 32 to 33.
Thanks so much.
Were you texting someone?
I was promised.
No, I'm joking.
What chapter?
1 Samuel. Alright, someone who's paying attention. 1 Samuel 15, verse 32 to 35. No, you're there. I know.
I was there.
I miss you.
I miss you too. It's really good to see you. Alright, 32.
Alright, go ahead.
Alright, awesome.
And Samuel?
Yeah. Alright, that's Samuel.
I'll honor you in front of the people. I promise.
Do it now. Then Samuel said, bring me Agag, king of Amalekites. Agag came to him in chains, and he thought, surely the bitterness of death is past.
Right, okay, so hold on. Come be a God with me for a second, all right? So he says, bring a God. A God walks out, and he's like, oh, thank God. He's no longer angry. Everything's going to be fine, right? Continue.
Okay. But Samuel said,
Give me an
as your
extra
sword has made women childless, so will your mother be childless and among women. And Samuel put Agag to death before the Lord at Gilgal. Then Samuel left for Ramah.
No. Someone, are you reading from the NKJV?
Yeah, the NIV.
No, I need someone to have a seat. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Honestly, this entire exchange was terrible.
I need someone to read from the NKJV. Someone read first, NKJV.
Let me switch the version.
Go.
As Samuel hacked Agag to pieces.
Samuel hacked Agag to pieces. He doesn't just kill him, he chops him up, okay? What he's saying is there is no compromise for sin at all. Now I know some of you are picturing Michael up here chopped up in pieces, but what this means for us is we do not compromise with sin. What did Saul do? He compromised with sin, right? One step forward, call 15 steps back. I can't tell you how many people have thought and they've said it's disgusting, right? But this is exactly what Saul does. He compromises with sin. And Samuel says there's no compromise for sin. You want to not take one step. Like, I can't tell you how many people are frustrated because they're like, I keep taking one step forward, 2 steps back. My whole life with God is 1 step forward, 2 steps back. I feel like I'm going backwards, not forward. Okay? 3 steps forward, 1 step back, nation. And then another 3 forward, 1 step back, nation. Okay? But 1 forward, 2 back. Like, nobody has time for that. Nobody's interested in that. It's frustrating. It's literally driving all over the country in this beautiful sports car, and you're lost, and you're frustrated, and you can't get anywhere. It's frustrating. That's all. I want to look at one quality for David. One quality. Because David was far from perfect. David, we know, was a killer. He was an adulterer. Sorry, let me say it differently. He committed murder and he committed adultery. He was not a killer and he was not an adulterer. Okay? And let me just clarify that. Because sometimes what we do is when we fall into a sin, we identify ourselves with the sin. And the truth is, if I'm in Christ, I cannot be identified with the sin. There's a big difference. David fell into sin, but he didn't see himself as that. You know, turn back to, it was just 1 chapter back. 2 chapters back. 1 Samuel 13, verse 14. Someone read that passage again. I think about how beautiful this image is. 1 Samuel chapter 13, verse 14. Remember, Saul starts off beautifully, humbly. Who am I? I'm just this little Benjamin. He should have been successful. He had everything going for him. When the people wanted to rebel against him, he said, no. We're not going to kill anyone today. But he quickly turned. Okay? Yes.
But now your kingdom shall not continue. The Lord has sought for himself a man after his own heart, and the Lord has commanded to be commander over his people, but you have not kept what the Lord commanded you.
How does it describe David? The Lord has sought a man after his own heart. You know what that... how does that, what does that mean, a man after, we've heard that description so many times. What does it mean that he had a heart after God's own heart? What does that mean? Give an image.
Chasing.
It's chasing him. Any other images? I want to play something for y'all. I just came back from a missions trip I mentioned to Bermuda. And while I was there, it's just an audio, okay? While I was there, I noticed the doxologies that they were singing were beautiful. I want you to listen and tell me what you notice differently, aside from the fact.
Not that deacons weren't saying like this.
All right. Aside from that, I want you to tell me what you notice about the. Do you notice the voices? What's the word? They're singing in harmony, right? I was reading about this specific passage. The Lord has sought man from after his own heart, and what that image implies is that there's a harmony. There's a harmony between the person and God. There's a harmony between my will and God's will. There's a harmony, like I'm living in harmony with God. Have you ever been somewhere and there's someone, either like uncle or tante right behind you, and they're singing totally out of tune? Anyone here? It feels really uncomfortable. Okay? Did David sin? Did David sin in his life? But what happened when he sinned? He got really uncomfortable. He got very, very uncomfortable. He said, this doesn't feel right. He didn't say, honor me in front of the people. He didn't try to justify, he didn't make up some rules, he didn't make stuff up. He said, this feels uncomfortable. I need to be brought back into harmony with God. For us, if we want to stop taking one step forward, 2 steps back, we want to align our hearts with God. Turn lastly to Psalm 27, verse 4. I was having quiet time before I got to church. Today's quiet time was from Psalm 27. And verse 4 just really struck a chord with me. One thing I desire from the Lord. One thing I desire from the Lord. And that I will seek. That I might dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life. Right? That I might, what does he say? That I might desire or behold his beauty. I might what? Behold his beauty. And that I might inquire in his temple. Like, think about that image. His heart was in harmony with God. He desired God. That I might dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life. He says, one thing I want from God. I'm not looking for success. I'm not looking for riches. I'm not looking for money or women. I'm not looking for pleasure. I'm not looking for any of that. One thing I'm asking from God. That's it. That I might dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life. What that means for us is that we might live a life of communion with God all the days of our life. But that is the thing that we are seeking after, pursuing more than anything else. His image in our lives, a life of communion, a life where we become saints, people, men and women, with God inside of them, that we become filled with the Holy Spirit, and that we pursue beauty, that we might behold the beauty of God, that when we look to each other, we see beauty. Not in the distorted kind of sexual, centralized way of the world, but just like we look at icons, we see beauty in the icons. We look at each other, we see beauty. It's not that we look at material possessions and buildings and find beauty. We look at God's creation, we find it's beautiful. We're enamored by God's work. And when it says that I might inquire in his temple, that word inquire means to seek after. He's saying, I am pursuing God. That's what it means that David had a heart after God's own heart. He pursued him. He wanted him and him above everything else. Doesn't mean he didn't mess up. Doesn't mean that he didn't fall. It means that when he did, he felt this discomfort. He felt like he wasn't in harmony with God. He felt like that sounds and feels really strange. And I need to get this thing corrected. Let me finish with one final thought for you guys. When I was down in Bermuda, I was taken back by something. I shared with Abuna before the meeting that the people there, they haven't had a priest for 5 years, a permanent priest for 5 years. And they're very frustrated because they said to us, they said, the Coptic Church has taught us two things. Now remember, all of these people have converted during their adult life, okay? There's one or two Egyptian people on the entire island. The entire rest of the church are all native Bermudians. Maybe that's why they sound so beautiful and musical and harmonized and all that. No! But they said, we have been taught by the Coptic Church two things: Eucharist and confession. They said the sacrament of communion and sacrament of confession we can't have without a priest. I was telling Abuna that during my week there, 25 people came to sit with me for confession. And the way I described it to Abuna, it was very true. They would come to me and they say, Abuna, we need to confess. They didn't come and sit down and be like, hey Abuna, what's up? How you doing? What's going on? How's your wife? How's your kids? What's going on? No, what's going on? Yeah, I don't know where to start really. No, they came and they said, Abuna, we need to confess. And they would grab me, take me right before the icon, and they would make the sign of the cross. Like they didn't wait. They wanted to confess. Okay? Confession took 5 minutes. It was confession. It wasn't sitting there having a back and forth. They came to confess their sin. They felt out of harmony with God. They said, I need to get my life fixed back with God. It wasn't story time. It was, I've cheated on my spouse. I've been doing drugs. I have been fighting with another deacon in the church. I have been gossiping about one of my sisters in the church. I have been neglecting my prayer. Please ask God to forgive me my sins, with tears in their eyes. And the entire week we were there, it was mind-blowing. We prayed 4 liturgies for them. They said they want more. They were hungry. Now, yes, they haven't had liturgy in a few months. But they were hungry. 6 a.m., they said, listen, a Feast of the Apostles, we've got work. Pray for us. We'll be there at 6 a.m. Church was full. 6 a.m. 6 a.m. I looked at our guys afterwards. I was like, would any of y'all show up to church if we were back home? They're like, no. 6 a.m.? That's crazy. 6 a.m. They were hungry. Okay? David, man after God's own heart. You want to be great in the Lord? Seek to live your life in harmony with God. Seek to live your life in harmony with God. I assure you, in life, you're going to do hopefully 2 steps forward and 1 step back. Do not accept for yourself to be 1 step forward and 2 steps back. And when you take the 1 step back, do like David did. Say, I'm uncomfortable. I'm coming back to God. Okay? Any questions? Comments? Miss you guys, and it's good to be back.